Yes.
I'm asking you, what do you see on the ground as you travel the land?
It's different from what is in the paper.
Right. So what do you see? Do you see trees being grown on a daily basis at prodigious 1,000 trees a day?
It's a really contagious issue. But now that you ask, I may be able to just give you the most recent sites that I've been able to see, because we were taking the board through the water towers as a first phase of a reconnaissance tour, and we went over Mau region. And we overflew also the region surrounding Cherangani. We went to Mount Elgon. What is seen, unfortunately, JSO on the ground is completely different from what is in the paper. We have people who are staying at 3,000 meters above sea level, which is completely unsustainable. The season before the elections last year, trees were felled like it has never happened before. Regions that we are supposed to have conserved, we have now at the moment.
So go back. So you're saying the trees were felled to be sold in order to put campaign funds into certain people's pockets.
Well, I wouldn't pinpoint that, but you know, it is a fact
that the trees didn't just fall down because the elections were in store.
And this is a season. This is something that happens perennially. It's not just something that is happening now.
Right.
Just periods before such activities.
Right.
Because money is required. Then there is only one place that it can be found where the environment cannot talk much and be able to be found. It is unfortunate. Right. We have water that is so colored. Go to Chemusus Dam, which is up there, red in color. Such places, you're supposed to take water that is so clean directly because it is a natural area. It means that floods that we have in this country are emanating from some human activities, purely anthropogenic issues that are supposed to be avoided. But it is happening in our country. We have a lot of institutions. We have people who have also gone into the forests. It's a long issue that, of course, I believe that the government is taking the right direction. And there is,
you can't be taking the right direction if it doesn't have a policy. What is the right direction for?
I'm trying to be fair, JSO, because you see,
and I'm trying to be unfair.
Yeah,
and I'm trying to be unfair,
which is good because you're here to bring out issues.
You've said that the enormity of the situation is such
yes.
that it cannot be treated lightly.
Yes.
So you've said to me, and I'm listening very carefully.
Yes.
We're still going through the idea of formulating a policy.
Yes.
How long will it take, and what are the obstacles?
There are efforts that we have made. I know that I have personally made some efforts towards this. And now that it is the draft policy is in place, it has taken very long to be ready. We should have had it long time ago. But I believe, and I have so much faith with the new leaders that have been put in place.
But you oughtn't to have much, because again, you talk about the leadership. The leadership is going to be devolved. So the idea of county governorship also raises issues. You're doing wonderful things in Kitui. Mm-hmm. What about Turkana? What about Pokot? What about Samburu?
Awareness. Awareness is what needs to be done. I am sure that there is direction towards that, but it needs to be known that drivers are not just to be, because we now have county governments. Who have you elected to these positions? How much do they understand of this particular issue? The government has gone ahead to register 18 water towers. When talking about water tower is environment in totality. What is being done in this area? You talked about bees and you talked about so much. This is what is in totality. I was in Mombasa just the other day, Shimba Hills, and you get to the place, you love what you see with your own eyes. Consistency, water flowing because of a different kind of an environment. And I looked at it, what has made Shimba Hills to be one successful forest, one successful KWS region, one successful water towers, and is a combination of so many things. I found that the animals, you cannot get there because the elephants are taking care of that. The place is fully fenced. KWS is there, and Kenya Forest Service is there. No, and there was a serious argument.
I beg to disagree slightly.
Let us go.
In the sense that you're trying to suggest the wonderful relationship between the KWS and the Forestry Department.
Yes.
That's not what we read in the papers when we read the small print.
Yes.
We have the Forest Department saying, these forests are ours, we want to cut them down. We're saying, the KWS saying, these forests form part of a sort of conservancy and you can do nothing. These are enemies at daggers drawn. They're not working together.
You see, I'm not talking about a good working relationship between the two organizations. I'm talking of the result of different players in one organization working together, whether by design or by default. What is the end result is what matters to me and what needs to concern us as a country. We are talking, I think you're being very specific here, JSO. We are talking of a situation where there are some trees that were planted many years back, in the 60s.
Exactly.
Okay? Trees have grown. They were particularly planted by Kenya Forest Service. And on the other side, and they have since created a very lovely scene and a lot of cover that has been generated in the region. And this, when it gets to that point, Kenya Forest Service, their business is now to harvest the trees and be able to sell so that they can sustain and do something else.
Right.
The opposite is Kenya Wildlife Service. They say, hey guys, you did a good job. You planted trees. And these trees, because the nature has since regenerated, it has since become an animal habitat. And therefore, you have no business trying even to imagine that you can cut these trees. This is a good fight, because these are institutions that are working. Meanwhile, animals are at peace, and there's so much. And therefore, there was a team that was put together, interministerial team. I would like to see the report, which must be a win-win situation. The worst case scenario is to let KFS be compensated, because you can't not cut down 900 hectares of a forest and say that there will be no further effects downstream. Because you see, the challenge in our country, we see value in a different direction. You cannot see trees as value to your pocket. You also need to see trees as value in the forest and what is happening around there. That is a very important water tower for Mombasa people and Kwale and all these people.
And you're raising another, we're going into the tag of the correlation between cutting things down in order to plant food for people and just letting these plants stay there. You talk about education. When I go to my village in a part of Kenya, people are committed to cutting down every conceivable tree, you know what, for firewood or for charcoal. That's part of our African tradition. That's how it's always been. What's going to change this mindset?
Efficiency. And as I said, is an issue of creation of awareness. It is so painful that our people don't know what value.
But what are the alternatives? What are the alternatives? You need.
I'll give you an example.
There's the lady with a gourd heading off to the river, going to make some meal for the family. Has to chop down some trees.
For the very first time in many years. The government has gotten one very right, and this is on carbon trading, where Kenya Wildlife Service and an organization that I happen to be part of are going to be working to distribute or to give or to educate communities in the country to give them energy efficient jikos, which are, instead of using 10 kilograms of firewood, let me take you back and give you some statistics.
Exactly.
We did a research recently. Out of 8.7 million households, this is the entire population of our country that create the 38 to 40 million. This is out of the census. Out of 8.7 million, 5.6 million households in Kenya depend entirely on firewood for their household energy. Now, to get the 5.6 their usage, we did a study to understand how much firewood they spend. So we went ahead and found that each household uses 10 kilograms of firewood. We went ahead to understand where can you find 10 kilograms of firewood, and it is found in a 3-year-old fastest ever growing tree. This is not the indigenous trees. This would be like eucalyptus planted by a watershed and the other type of trees that produce the same. Meaning, very clearly, literally translated, as a country we are depleting 5.6 million trees every single day.
Right.
And now, therefore, the solution is to try to sort out this situation by giving a solution. Because we cannot go screaming about numbers. We cannot talk about... We have to offer practical solutions.
Right. And to end, because obviously we cannot exhaust our conversation. Our time's up.
Yes.
When I see you have a name-driven blog, and you sign yours in green, you say, think green, act green.
Yes.
You're talking to me, the Mwananchi. You're talking to Wanjiku.
Yes.
What do you expect me to do?
Very clearly. You know, as I have defined green. And this is the message. I would also want to turn you green. Green has 3 meanings to me. And this is what I want every Kenyan, every person in Africa to be able to understand. Treating people kindly is green. This is good ethics, training on life skills. This is about values. The second green is working towards good health, peace within communities, and creating sustainable livelihoods, where everything works together for common good. We cannot continue dealing with the issues that we are dealing with. Then after having those 3, then you now have the most important green, because it is equally important, and this is passionate environmental conservation. So when I say think green and act green, is about those 3 greens, and I would want you to think green and act green. And therefore, how to do that is to establish activities that are geared towards adding value to what is around you, and be able to be a teacher, because we need that, and our country needs us. We must think green and act green.
Isaac Kalua, environmentalist, thank you very much for coming on the JSO interview.
Thank you very much for having me.